I think this is probably the coolest thing and where Drupal Forge really makes sense. So what we have built is we have built the AI agents testing framework because we're building a lot of agents, right? And we have to figure out basically, is this agent taking the right decisions? Because what our agent is in the end compared to a workflow is something that actually takes decisions for you. And it has a lot of tools to do this. So what we have done for Drupal CMS is that we have created around, let's say, it's 81 different tests that you can actually run here by themselves, but you can also then run them as groups. So here, for instance, we can ask directly to the content type agent, run all the tests that we need to do for the content type agent. And I'm going to showcase how these are set up. We need 4.1 here maybe. So the idea is also you can choose exactly which model to try different models then to see if one model works better than another. And when we start that, you will see here is all the tests is going to run, and it's going to run them sequentially. So while this is running, I'm going to show you one test because it's actually quite complex. What you can do. Oh, that is no good though. We have a bug. I have to figure out this on each edit. Yeah. Oh, that
What just happened?
I don't know. It's complaining that a thing doesn't exist. I'm gonna see if it just helps to flush the cache. Because that one should exist. No, still not. I have to figure out why that is happening. See if it's everywhere. Yeah, let's try some of these that we're actually running. Okay, so they are working. I have to figure out why this is happening on the other tests. If this is Drupal Forge or if we just have a bug there. This module is in alpha, by the way. So you see it has run a lot of tests, right? Success, failure. You can watch the details then, and there you can see exactly what it's doing. So here you can see goal of the test. This will instruct the agent to create a content, well, it should say content type called mix with data name mixed. And what it does then is it's checking, does it use the tool create content type? Because that is the tool decision it has to take, right? It shouldn't get content type info. It shouldn't edit content type. It should create a content type. That's what we're trying to do. So yes, it has run this, and the parameter label it has set to mixed with capital M. That's what we're expecting, and this is what it has set. So this is working. The data name mixed and mixed, right? The create content type should run. That's important. Otherwise, it's failing. And the run order in this case doesn't matter. Could be any. So expected is any. It ran on the first loop. So that is the loop of the agent, right? And it's important that get content type should not run them. Edit content type should not run. And that means that it worked. So if we go into one of the ones that failed, this will instruct the agent to change the information about the description of the basic page. And what this needs to do is get content type info. Actually, this is a failure in the tests. It doesn't have to run this. So if the test asked it for, here you can see the triggering instruction, by the way. So this is what it's asking. So change the description of the basic page content type to, yeah, whatever this is. This actually doesn't need to get the content type info because the only time it would need it is if we're asking change the description of the basic page and look at what you have now and rewrite it in some manner, because then it has to look using this tool to what is the description currently, edit it, and the content type should not run. So this is actually, I would say, a test fail. I mean, a failure in the test. The test is not actually failing. So this is one place where it might make sense to actually then change this. So what you can do here then is you can look for this number 5, which is this one, go in and edit it. And how you're editing those then is that you have a title, description, triggering instruction. That is just visual metadata that doesn't do anything with the actual test. Then you say which agent to run against. And when you run against the agent, you can either just add one simple instruction, and that is usually how you talk to one agent. But if you have an assistant like the chatbot here, usually you have history, right? You're asking it something, it does something. You're asking it, it does something.
Yeah.
Then you can check here instead and actually fill out chat history, like what did the user say, then what did the assistant say, and you trigger it from that state then. Because agents are stateless. So meaning that if you have talked back and forth 6 times using OpenAI, you could continue that discussion in Anthropic if you want to. There's nothing in the state of the provider where you have to say, this is a chat thread that I have saved here and you should continue this. They are completely stateless.
And you can do this in testing?
Yes, you can do this in testing. So you can basically say, this is the chat history we want, and this is the final instruction we want, right? And the assistant should then do this and this and this.
Okay. Do you have an example of that? Or
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do here, but that's the thing that is failing then. Yeah, that's why I can't show you, because these ones that are not directly connected to an agent, they are connected to the chatbot. So they actually have the history as it is with a long conversation. So what's happening there is that the first one is the first user message that creates an assistant message. The second one is the user message, assistant message, and another user message. This one then is a user message, assistant user message, assistant user message. But I have to figure out why it's complaining that these agents are missing for whatever reason. Let me just check something, see if we have all the agents here. I mean, they should really be there. So I'm not sure what it is. Let me just check that error once more. Okay, plugin does not exist. That should exist. Well, I will have to check why that is failing. Anyway, this is now oh yeah, what I wanted to show there was on the edit page, right? So what we can do here, this has a failure that might not be a failure. We were going through this. So you have reset config. What this means is that if you're asking, if the agent is asking to change something, like, can you add a new field? This is, of course, actually going to go ahead and add a new field and doing some PHP logic that we do not care about. We just care about, does it take the right decisions? But we will have to trigger that PHP logic because, of course, if you have something like, the first step is that it creates a field storage, and the second is that it creates a field config. The field config is dependent on the field storage existing, which means that we can't really test it completely in isolation, because then it would fail, because it would get a validation error. So what it's doing here, it's running through all those. And if you have checked this, it's going to reset the website to how it was before, meaning that those fields get removed again. So you can run that test over and over and over again without you manually having to delete the field over and over again. And then you have the rules then, and these are the rules, which tool should be run and so on. So get content type info should not be run. Oh, that's actually what it says. So this is actually, yeah, we could remove this because it could run get content type info. It's not great because it creates another loop. It's a little bit slower, but it's not the whole world either. And then it says then, because it's it's supposed to edit the description in this case, right? We're saying the edit content type should be run, could be run at any time. We don't care about when it runs, but you can also set directly after another tool, sometimes after another tool, one of the N loops. So you can say this should always run the second time, the second loop. That should always happen. And if it doesn't do that, it's not consistent. And then you have the parameters that it should set. And in this case, it should, of course, then set a description. And since we're asking for an exact thing here, this one, it should, of course, set that as the variable because that is what it's trying to change. And if it doesn't do that, it's because the AI hallucinated or something like that. So it might use this tool, but make up something else here, right? And then create content type should not run. What you have also on these parameters, so you have exactly set this not one of, you can also verify by LLM. Because if you take the experience builder agents, for instance, it makes zero sense to add some kind of CSS regex or something like that in there, because it could create any CSS depending on what you're asking. And if you're asking for a blue button, it might, I mean, there's so many ways you can create that blue button in CSS. There's no way that we can deterministically check for this. So what you can say there instead is that this parameter should be filled with CSS that looks like a blue button. And if that's true, it's okay. If it's not true, it fails. And it's the same then with the actual response from the agent. We can actually check it against LLMs. This costs money, of course, so that's something people have to be beware of. And the thing is, when you have changed this to your liking and you don't like how we have set up the tests, because it might fail because of actual failures in how we set up the test, you can then either go ahead and export it, and this becomes a YAML that you can create a pull request for, but we have the test groups then. So you can actually go to the full test group, export this, and you see I have a file here. We can actually import this, so we have this group again, and it creates all of them again. Which is really nice because that's a very simple way of moving the tests or putting the tests inside a module. They are content entities, so in theory you can use them with recipes again. So you can see here, by the way, then that this one is here again. Then you can also show that as well. You can also, for single tests, you know, sometimes you want to do the same kind of test, but just without switch, you know, a change in the parameters. You can also just click duplicate, and it creates a duplication of this where you can start editing it right away. So you can just change the thing the minor thing that you want to change. And this doesn't save until I click save there. So it's just in a session for now. And that is it basically.
Yeah, I'd love to do a longer demo of it when you get back. So
yeah,
there's a lot here.
Yeah, it's a lot. I have created a video where I'm talking about it before, so you could look at that as well. We have also we did right now. We haven't created a module for this that if they want to really try the Drupal CMS agents at least, that and you use OpenAI, that costs around $2. So their credits will run out then. So we have written in the description, if you really want to try this, you have to add your own AI provider.
Okay, say it again.
So running the whole Drupal CMS test suite, all the 81 tests, that costs around $2 in OpenAI credit. So if you run it on OpenAI, same cost on Anthropic, same cost on Gemini, and it's around the same, all of them. If you're using the 4.1 or the 3.5 and so on, so the actual good models. Because of this, we have written that they should add their own providers, because if they want to run everything, the $1 that is giving it out, that will not be enough.
Yeah.
So it's gonna start failing the test because, well, the provider will start reacting the calls.
Yeah. We could increase the value on these specific things.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same, it's people running the same tests over and over. I don't know if that's
right.
something that helps. I mean, it's very good if they're adding their own agent. They could add their own agent here and import their tests and run it here. Because the nice thing here then is that certain things might have a state. You might need to have an article, for instance, because it's asking about articles and so on, which means that something like Drupal Forge is super, because then you can just kill it, start over again, kill it, start over again, right? So because of that, it's very nice as well. Because it sucks in when you use DDEV, for instance, I have to import the database again. Takes some time and so on. So that is that. Oh, let's delete it. And I'm gonna check before I leave what is. I think I actually know what could be the issue there. I know we changed the IDs of the agents, and this might not be updated. And that's why. So I just need to change the file names of the things we import.